Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, you've handed us a mountain of sources. We've got everything from geology reports to biographies, and our mission is to give you that ultimate shortcut.
High-value synthesis. And the topic is huge. We're talking about Canada.
One of the world's largest, most powerful, and culturally influential nations. And we have to start with the motto, don't we? Amori usk admire.
From sea to sea. It's not just a nice phrase. I mean, it's a geographic reality. The scale is the first thing you have to understand.
Right.
Our sources make it so clear. This is the second largest country on the planet, almost 10 million square kilometers.
And that scale requires some structure. So we're diving into a federal parliamentary democracy.
And a constitutional monarchy.
Which means King Charles III is still technically the head of state. It's this vast nation, but it's built on these, very specific foundations.
Absolutely. And those foundations have these globally recognizable symbols. It's officially bilingual, English and French.
And the symbols themselves are kind of charming, aren't they? The maple leaf, the beaver, the Canada goose.
Exactly. So we're going to walk you through that monumental landmass, then get into the icons, urban and natural, and finally, the people who really built the country.
Okay, let's start with that landmass. The sheer scope. It only shares a border with one country, the United States.
But, and this is a huge push, but it has the longest coastline in the entire world.
It's an astronomical figure. Over 243,000 kilometers. Along 3 oceans. I mean, just try to picture that.
And here's the fact from the sources that it almost sounds made up. Canada has more lakes than every other country on Earth combined.
Wait, say that again?
More lakes than all other countries combined. It's functionally infinite. Water isn't just a feature there. It's the defining characteristic of the entire place.
So when you look at the major physical features, it tells the story of immense geological time.
Oh, absolutely. You've got the Rockies in the west, which are relatively young, these huge jagged peaks.
And then contrast that with the Canadian Shield.
Which is some of the oldest rock on the planet. It's the foundation of North America, really. Full of minerals, but it's a brutal landscape.
And out west, you really see that scale. The highest mountain, Mount Logan, in the Yukon. It's nearly 6,000 meters high.
A powerful reminder of how young and active those western ranges are.
And the power isn't just in the rock, it's in the water. I mean, everyone knows Niagara Falls.
Of course. One of the world's most powerful, shared with the U.S. But our sources pointed to something even more extreme, didn't they? The Bay of Fundy.
Between New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, this is where you find the highest tidal range on Earth.
And we're not talking about a small difference. The water level can change by more than 16 meters. That's like a 5-story building.
How does that even work?
Well, it's all about the unique funnel shape of the bay. It basically resonates with the tide and amplifies it.
And the result of that incredible daily force, you get these things called the Hopewell Rocks.
The flower pot rocks, yeah.
Yeah.
In New Brunswick, there are these massive formations carved out by the tides. You can literally walk on the ocean floor at low tide.
And then a few hours later, they're just tiny islands. It's nature sculpting on a colossal scale.
So from that raw elemental power, let's shift to the places people actually seek out. The iconic landmarks. Starting out west.
This is the Canada you see on postcards, right? The Rocky Mountains, we're talking about Alberta. Banff National Park, which is Canada's oldest.
And its neighbor, Jasper. And you have to understand, these aren't just parks. They are vast mountain wildernesses.
And inside them, you find those images. Lake Louise.
That iconic glacier-fed emerald green lake. And Moraine Lake with that deep, deep turquoise blue nestled in the valley of the 10 Peaks.
What's so amazing is how they've made this extreme beauty so accessible.
That's the key, the Icefields Parkway.
Right, the road connecting Banff and Jasper. Yeah. Our sources call it one of the world's most scenic drives. It lets you get right up close to things like the Athabasca Glacier.
It really turns a mountain expedition into a controlled adventure.
Okay, so let's jump straight from that wilderness to the big cities. The contrast is what defines the country.
Absolutely. Take Toronto, you have the CN Tower. For a while, it was the world's tallest freestanding structure.
It's still this, 553-meter monument on the skyline with that glass floor that terrifies everyone.
But Toronto also has the Royal Ontario Museum, the ROM. It's the country's largest museum for world cultures and natural history. So there's real depth there.
And then you contrast that modern city with old Quebec.
Oh, View Quebec.
Yeah.
It's like stepping into 17th century France. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a walled city.
And it's dominated by that one building, the Chateau Frontenac. I think I read it's one of the most photographed hotels in the world.
It's an act of cultural preservation, really. And then you've got the capital, Ottawa, which sort of balances the
So
two.
mystery and governance. You've got Parliament Hill, the Peace Tower. It's the seat of government. But what I love is what they do with their infrastructure in the winter.
The Rideau Canal, exactly. It's a UNESCO site, built for military reasons.
But every winter, it freezes solid and becomes the world's longest natural skating rink.
Right. It just raises that question of how often a harsh climate forces you to create something that becomes this unique cultural experience.
That seems to be a recurring theme. And a couple of fun facts to bring those cities to life for you. In Ottawa, you have to try the beaver tails pastries at the Byward Market.
A Canadian classic. And out in Vancouver, in Gastown, there's the Scheme Clock.
Which actually runs on steam and whistles every 15 minutes. It's amazing.
So from the settled south, we have to go north, to the far north and the Arctic territories. This is where you really understand that from sea to sea idea.
This is the elemental Canada, and the reward for going that far north to the Yukon, the Northwest Territories, Nunavut, is the Aurora Borealis.
The Northern Lights and Whitehorse in the Yukon is mentioned as a major gateway for seeing them.
And this is also where Canada hides some of its biggest secrets.
Like Churchill, Manitoba. It's known as the polar bear capital of the world. The sources say it's the best place on Earth to see them in the wild.
And remember, we mentioned Niagara Falls.
I did.
Well, Nahanni National Park Reserve up in the Northwest Territories has Virginia Falls, and it is twice as high as Niagara.
Twice as high, but far less known. It's credible.
The scale just keeps going. Wood Buffalo National Park, which is so big it's in both Alberta and the NWT. It's Canada's largest park.
And it was set up to protect the world's largest herd of wild bison and the nesting grounds for whooping cranes, which are endangered.
The North also has these immense lakes. Great Slave Lake, the deepest in North America, and Great Bear Lake.
And while we're talking about the North, we have to mention the connection to the First Peoples, the Inukshuk.
Right, that stone figure,
Yeah.
built by the Inuit. It's a symbol for direction, for friendship.
A powerful symbol of navigating that kind of tough landscape. And you see that history reflected further south, too, like with the totem poles in Vancouver's Stanley Park. Each one tells a story.
And that connection to the people brings us to our next part. The nation's architects. The individuals who shaped Canada's identity.
You have to start with the political visionaries. Sir John A. Macdonald.
The first prime minister. The architect of Confederation back in 1867.
He literally forged the nation. And then you jump forward to someone like Lester B. Pearson, a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
He's credited with creating modern peacekeeping, which is so central to Canada's global identity, and he gave them the maple leaf flag.
But if you ask who shaped the country's social fabric, the name that comes up is Tommy Douglas.
The sources say he was voted the greatest Canadian of all time.
And for one reason, really. He's known as the father of Medicare, universal health care. That single idea completely reshaped Canadian society.
But you know, in building a nation, there are always figures who have to fight for recognition.
And that's where you have to talk about Louis Riel, the Métis leader, the spiritual father of Manitoba.
His legacy is complex, for sure. It involved armed resistance. But he is a key figure in the fight for Indigenous rights.
Absolutely. And then there's Viola Desmond, a civil rights pioneer.
She stood up against racial segregation in a movie theater in Nova Scotia long before the movement in the U.S. got widespread attention. And now she's on the $10 bill.
A permanent recognition.
Yeah.
And finally, you have that symbol of pure resilience, Terry Fox.
The one-legged runner. He started the Marathon of Hope to raise money for cancer research. He couldn't finish his run across Canada.
But the run continues in his name all over the world. It just embodies that national spirit.
And that spirit carries through to Canada's global influence, which is just, it's huge, especially in science and culture. Let's start with medicine.
You can't. You just cannot talk about 20th century medicine without Frederick Banting and Charles Best.
The co-discoverers of insulin.
I mean, think about it. It's one of the most important medical breakthroughs ever. It saved millions of lives. Banting won the Nobel Prize for it.
And we should also mention Alexander Graham Bell, Scottish-born, but he was a Canadian citizen when he was working on the telephone.
He's part of that legacy of innovation. And they've taken that legacy literally into space.
Roberta Bondar, Canada's first female astronaut.
And Chris Hadfield, the ISS commander, who became a global sensation for singing Space Oddity in orbit. It's that commitment to exploration.
Okay, let's pivot to the arts. The literary giants are just phenomenal.
You have Margaret Atwood, of course,
Yeah.
The Handmaid's Tale, and Alice Munro, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2013.
Her short stories about rural life are just masterpieces.
And then there's the visual influence. The architect Frank Gehry was born in Toronto. He designed the Guggenheim in Bilbao.
And at home, you have the group of seven.
Those landscape painters. They fundamentally changed how Canadians saw their own country. They took that rugged, harsh wilderness and made it a source of national identity.
But the thing that's really staggering is the sheer density of global superstars, especially in entertainment.
For a country with a relatively small population, it's unbelievable. In music, you have legends like Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Leonard Cohen.
And modern titans, Celine Dion, Drake, Justin Bieber, The Weeknd, bands like Rush, The Tragically Hip, the list just goes on.
And Hollywood is just packed with Canadians.
Ryan Reynolds, Jim Carrey, Keanu Reeves, Ryan Gosling, and the team behind Schitt's Creek, Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy. There's a certain sense of humor that just exports so well.
And finally, we have to mention sports. Ice hockey is the national winter sport. You have Wayne Gretzky, the great one, Sidney Crosby.
But I didn't know that lacrosse is the traditional summer sport. It's the oldest sport in North America.
And it's not just the men. Christine Sinclair, the soccer captain, has broken all sorts of records. It's across the board.
Okay, so let's try to synthesize all of this for you. After this deep dive, what is Canada's core identity?
It seems to be a country of contrasts, really. It's bilingual, it's multicultural, and it's always balancing this highly developed urban life.
Like in Toronto or Vancouver.
With this vast, wild, challenging nature of the Rockies and the Arctic.
A couple of final quick facts for you to take away. Because of its size, Canada spans 6 time zones.
6. And here's a detail I love. The word Canada actually comes from the Iroquois word Kanata,
Which means village.
which means village. So they went from a single village to the second largest nation on Earth.
That is quite the journey.
And that journey leads us to a final provocative thought for you to think about. The sources all mention how Canada is known for being friendly, for being polite.
Right. It's the stereotype